So let's talk about one of the most used data types in Python. And now we are talking about list. We're going to be talking about list. So in this tutorial, what are you going to be learning? You'll be learning what a list is, the key characteristics of a list, how to create a list in varieties of ways, performing various operations on a list, and the various methods that you can use in list, and various functions that you can use to operate on list. So let's get into the coding aspect of list, right? So let me just first give you a brief overview of what list is. A list is an ordered sequence of items enclosed in square brackets. Okay, so it's any sequence of items that you see enclosed in square bracket. It is called a list. A list can be edited. Unlike sets, a list is mutable because it can be edited. Individual elements in a list can be edited, can be modified. Unlike set of that which is immutable, and individual elements of a set cannot be modified. So a list that ordered, they contain any arbitrary object. A list of an object can be accessed by index, right? And a list can be nested to an arbitrary depth, which means you can have a list inside another list, right? And these lists are dynamic, which means you can change them, you can modify them, you can manipulate them in different ways. So let's start creating our list, right? First, we can start by having an empty list right here, and if you go ahead and just print out A, you see that this is just an empty list, right? Okay, that's an empty list. You can create an empty list, and you can create a list by just giving it values inside it by just saying 1 2 3. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5, right? Okay, let's about 5. You can go ahead and print this out, and we're getting a list of 1 2 3 4 5. So you can check the type of this if you're doubting this is a list or not, or if you just want to confirm whether this is a list yourself. So checking the class now, we are seeing that this is a class type list, right? So, and the other way whereby you can create list is from a sequence, right? So you can just use a list function right here from the list constructor itself, okay, which is a list constructor of the class list, right? So I want to turn this Python string sequence to a list, right? So if I should run this now, I'm seeing that this is a type list, but if I should print this out, I'll see that I'm getting Python with Python, whereby individual letter Dre is an element of a list, right? P is an element, Y is an element of this list. Okay, now you've seen 2 different ways whereby you can create a list, right? You can have an empty list and you add values to it, or just create a list with some default values initially coming with it, or you create a list from another sequence. So this does not just have to be string, this can be from another set or sequence, like another list itself. So let's talk about accessing elements of a list. So yeah, I'll just add more to this and call it hello Python, right? So if I should call this hello Python, I'm going to print this out, and now I have a longer list, right? And this empty string here too is an element in the list. So how do I access this element? So to access individual element, now we use an index in square bracket, right? This is exactly analogous to accessing individual elements in a string. Just as we had access individual elements of a string, the same way we access individual elements in a list. So we can have either positive indexing or negative indexing. So before you say And Drew, you're confusing me. Drew, you're confusing me. This is what I'm talking about. So, looking at the wall hello right here. So just go ahead and comment this out. Hello. So let's just have L. Oh. So this is going to have two type of indexing. We have the positive index, which is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we will have the negative indexing also, which is going to start counting from the back, right? So let me just add more to this. Okay, just for simplicity case, let me limit this to just 5 elements, right? So, and now since you have 5 elements, this is going to start from -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, and this is the negative. This is the negative indexing itself. So I can just go ahead and just space this out so they can rhyme with each other. So you can visualize this well from the perspective I am seeing it. Okay. Okay, now this is what I'm talking about. You can use either positive indexing or negative indexing, whereby we have positive index here and we have negative index here, right? Negative. So we're doing another hashtag right here. So if I should run this now, what are we getting? E, and that's because I'm trying to access the element in index 1, which is letter E, right? So what if I should do the same thing with -4, you see I'm getting E also, right? So 0, I'm getting what? H, and sorry about that, -5, I'm still getting H. So this is either I use a positive index or a negative index to access the element in a list. So let's talk about one more thing right here. Talking about list and manipulating list. There's something we call slicing. Slicing also work with lists as well as work with strings. So slicing is going to return a list now from the index you want to start from and the index you want to add. Let's just say I want to just bring out ELL, right, from this list. How am I going to do that? So trying to get ELL, now we are going to slice this list from index 1 to 3. So to do that is just by specifying the index we want to start from and the index we want to end it at. We just specify the index we want to start from and the index we want to end the slicing at. So if I should go ahead and run this now, I'll see we are getting ELL. And now, why am I not getting this last L? That's because the last index when it is going to be exclusive, but the index we are starting from is going to be inclusive, right? So it's including E. We are starting from index 1, but it's excluding the last index, which is 3, right? Because it is exclusive. So we can just say 4 right here to make sure that we are getting this quite all right, and this is how it is. And if you just want to slice from there to the ending, you can run this and see that yes, we are getting it to the ending. And if you want to slice from the beginning now to around index 3, which should be 2 by default, we can see that we are able to slice this and get it like this, right? And you can also slice this with the negative slicing, right? So I can decide to start from back right here, and now if I'm starting from back now and I want to stop at index 3, and now I'm specifying another one called run this again, index 3 minus 1. So what am I doing right here? I'm starting from index minus 1, which is 0, which is O. Then I want to stop at 3 right here, right? And minus 1. This is sort of a step. So I can show you this better if I try to stop at 5 right here, and I'm putting in 2 right here. So what I see right here, I'm starting from 1, which is E. Then I'm putting out just one L right out there. So if I should just change this to P, just for you to see this well, you can see I'm not getting P, but I'm getting L, right? That's because it's jumping this P because you give it a step of 2. So it's counting in 2s now. So we started from 1, then 1, 2. Give that out also before the next one. So that's how it works right here, using step to slice. So let's talk about something we called traversing lists. So traversing a list means accessing each element exactly once in order to process it. So I'm going to use an analogy here. So let's say this list right here is just a list of numbers. Seven, right? So this is a list of numbers right here. So what can we do? We can just use a for loop to access every element in this list. So I'll just go ahead and run this. Sorry, let's print out I and not A instead. So if I should go ahead and run this now, I'm accessing each and every element in this list. So I cannot decide to process this element now by incrementing each of this value by 1. So I can just say plus equal 1, right? And let's say I plus 1. So I can go ahead and run this again. So I can say that now, starting my counting from 2. But let's say I want to return a list whereby each and every element here have been incremented by 1, right? What am I going to do this? So I can just say print out, we have default list right here. So we have this default list here, and that is list A, right? So I want to access every element in this list, and I want to print out something. So I need to get the length of this list. We'll talk about this length function very soon, but just hold on and just type along with me right now. So length A right here. So what are we doing with length A? We are getting the length of the elements in this string. So we are not looping through A this time around, but we are looping through the numbers of elements in this list. So for I in range n, what we want to do now is get in each element in the specific index of the element now. So I'm getting, okay, let me first print out I first so you can know what I'm talking about. So if I print out I right here, you can see I'm starting from 0 to 6, and that's exact index of the elements we have right here, because we have 7 elements and that's 0 to 6, right? So what I want to do right here is to access each element in this index, and now I want to increment this element by 1. So I can just use plus equal 1, or I just go the traditional way right here and just say a with that index, just give more understanding to the context right here. I'm getting that same index and I'm adding 1 to it, right? So here now I can now print out updated list. So this is my updated list right here, and here I have a right as my updated list. So if I should print this out, so we have a default list starting from 1, right? And we have an updated list starting from 2, because and ending at 8, because they've all been incremented by 1. So this is what we are getting as a list. So this is all called transversing a list, and this is just us modifying. This is just us like processing each element in a list, and here we are modifying an element of a list, and we are updating each and every one of these elements by using the concept of transversing a list, right? So let's talk about the operations we can perform on a list. So what are the operations that we can perform on a list right here? So still using this list here, the first operation we're going to talk about here is concatenation of 2 or more lists. So concatenation is basically just joining 2 or more lists into a single one. So all we need to do here is to use the plus operator to do this. So I'm going to return my A list right here, and I'm going to form another B list. Okay, just have my A list and have another B list right here, which I'm going to use a constructor here and just use my name Andrew. So if I go with this right here now, I'm having 2 lists right here, and now I want to have a third list right here, and I'll call this C is equals to what? A plus B. So let's go ahead now and print C. So now we are getting a list which is a combination of A and B. So now you must have noticed now that we are having a list whereby there is integer and there is string. This is because Python does not really give preferences to this. You can have a list that is full of different data types, right? So Python allows that. So we can add more lists to this, add more lists to this. And the other thing we'll be talking about right here is repetition of a list. This is another operation that you can perform with a list. So instead of saying A plus B, now I can just say A multiplied by 4. So this is going to repeat this list 4 times. So I should run this now. I'm getting that same list 4 times. 1 to 7, 1 to 7, 1 to 7, and 1 to 7 again for the last time. So that's how repetition of a list work, right? And we can also slice lists, and I have showed that to you previously. Or slicing a list, we can have a start. So just to have an overview of that, now you can just say A now, then we have a starting index, a stopping index, and a step, right? This is basically how you slice a list. So just to go over that right here, you can just go again here. You can just print out A, and now I want to start at index 1. Okay, let's start index 0. I want to end at index 6, right? And now I want to have a step of 2. So you can say basically this is giving us all the odd numbers, right? Because we're having a step of 2, we are neglecting 2 in the list, 4 in the list, and yes, that's all, because this index is stopping at 6, stopping at 7, but 7 is going to be exclusive, right? So this is slicing index. Yeah, so let's go to another types of operation in Python, right? Operation on list in Python now. So we can have what we call a membership test on list. And what do you mean by membership test? So we can test if an element exists in a list or not using a membership operator. So we've spoken about membership operators in Python before. Yeah, I have the tutorial. So can just scroll down the playlist and share this tutorial, check the description below or up there to see more membership tests in Python. So what I'm just going to have here is to check if something like 3 in A. So you can easily print out it's 3 in A, and that's true because 3 is actually present in the list called A. But what about 9? 9 is false because 9 is not present, and we can just try to say not in instead. So 9 is actually not in here, so that's true, right? And if you're doing this for 3 again, that will be false because 3 is actually present in A. So let's talk about list method and function now. So Python library now provides large numbers of methods a list can have access to. So another set of functions that you can take a list now and operate on them now. So in this section now, we'll just like look at the various methods of list class that we can work with. So the first one we're talking about right here is append. And what do we mean by append? So you can see that our list A now is just 1 to 7, right? So I can decide to just say a dot append and add it to this. So if I should now print out A, I can now see the result of this append, whereby 8 is included in the list. That's because we've append this list to it, right? So append add an item to the end of the list. That's what it's going to do. So the next one we are going to talk about right here now, I'm just say add okay, item to the end of the list. So the next one I'm going to talk about here now is extend. So extend is going to extend a list by appending all the items from another list and allow you to join together and following. So what we are going to do here now is extend the item from another list. This is just like concatenating this list. So we are going to do a dot extend, and now we are adding the elements in list B. So if I should run this again now, we can see we are getting what we get as a result of our concatenation when we were talking about concatenation right before. So I just go ahead. Yeah, sorry about that. So just go ahead and comment it right there. So extend a list by appending all the items in items from another list, right? So that's what extend is going to do for us. So now let's talk about the insert method. So insert method now is going to insert an item in a given position of a list. So just go ahead and comment this. Okay, so to insert now to a list, what we just need to do is, so I'll just go ahead and comment all these right here. Now we can just go and say a dot insert. Now what you need to specify is the index and the element you want to insert. So right here you can now see this index and this is the object we are inserting right here. So you can see now a printing the list A out and see it present at the beginning of this list. So another one is the remove. So I can just go ahead now, after inserting, I can decide to say a dot remove 3. So if I should run this, you can see 3 has been removed from this list. Remember, if 3 was present right there from by default, but now 3 has been removed. Another one here is pop. So remove, okay, now remove now method removes the first occurrence of the given item from the list. So what if I have 2, 3 right here? So me using remove to remove 3 right here is only going to remove the first occurrence and it's going to leave the other one, but it's going to return an error if there's no such item on this list. So let's talk about pop. Pop is going to remove the item at a given position of the list. So returns it if no index is specified. So if no index is specified when using a pop function, it is going to remove the last element. So if you just say a dot pop, be sure that we are not going to see 7 again in this list because it's removing 7. But yeah, if you remove the element at index 3, yeah, we can run this out and see that 4 is missing because 4 has been removed, and you can print out that 4 itself out at the terminal because this function is returning that element. But can we do the same thing with the remove function? Let's try that. Now you can see none because the remove function is returning none because it's not returning the value that was removed, but pop is returning the value that was removed, right? And let's say you want to find out the index. So let's say you want to find out the index of an element now. So what you can just do, right, to do that here is just simply say print a dot index. So I want to check for the index of 8 right now. So if I should run this now, I can say I'm getting 0 because 0 is the index of 8, because here we inserted 8 at index 0. So another one you should take note of right here is count. So count is just going to return the numbers of times a given element appears in a list. So if I should comment where we are removing 3 right here, and I try to count the elements in this list right here, so I just say a dot count 3. Can see yes, 3 is present twice. So I can just, to prove that, I can just go ahead and print out a first. So now you can see that we have 3 right here and 3 right here, and it's returning numbers of time 3 is present in this function. Okay, so again you can go through something like sort. just to sort this list. So you can just decide to say, so I'll go ahead and come this. So you can say sort. If I should say sort, normally it's just going to return. I have to print out A to see the sorted value. So you can see now 8 has been taken to the back, and now if I sort this and I set this parameter called reverse equals to true. So now I'm going to do right here. You can see that this sorting will be reversed. Okay, close the parentheses. Now you can see that this sorting was reversed, right? Okay, that's all about the methods we can use in string with list. So let's talk about list functions, right? And some other functions we can use with list. So list function is a constructor that we have used to create some lists before. Just like here, this is a list function we have used to create some lists, and now it is mutable list. It's going to return a mutable list now for list now. So we also have some other functions like len. So just go ahead and clear this up. So we can just go ahead and print out the length of this list A, and we get the length out there. So now you can see that there are 8 elements in this list called A, and we can decide to say we want to check the max here, and the max in this element now is 7, and we can do the same thing to try check the mean value of this element, which is 1. And now there's something we call the range, and range represents a mutable sequence of numbers that is commonly used for looping through a specific number of times in a loop. So if you want to loop through this element now, we can just say, okay, let's say we can use range to create a list. Actually, if you want to loop through it, you can just say for I in A itself, and you can print out I, and print out I. It's as simple as that. So now let's say we want to create a list from some range of number, so you can just say print out list using the list constructor range 10. So what do you think this is going to give us? This is going to give us a list from 0 to 9, and that's how we are going to get this list. So you can just go ahead and say, okay, let's try this. Here now you can get access to some inbuilt functions of list. Okay, actually this, now you can see all these functions from the list at the ending of this, which is sort, remove, reverse, and every other thing, just by saying the list. Now you can see that all the things you can do: clear, copy, count, extend, index, insert, pop, remove, reverse, append, and so on. And you can decide to just say help instead of del. So this will give you access to more things you can do with a list. So now you can read more in depth about list and more of what you can do with list right here. So you can see list now is iterable, built-in mutable sequence. It's okay if no argument is given, the constructor create an empty list. Okay, the argument of the iterable is specific, okay, is specified. So you can read more about this by just saying help list or any other data type you wish to look into with Python. So that'll be all for today. Thank you for coming this along with us this far. So this video has been a very long one, and that's basically showed you everything you need to know about list in Python. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you next time.